a lot of relationships begin because people ignore the red flags. And those same relationships end because of those red flags. I don't want that to be you. I want to help you and save you from falling into that trap. So I'm going to lay out for you the 7 red flags in dating you should never ignore. My name is Stefan Labossiere, aka Stefan Speaks, your certified life and relationship coach, here to provide you with dating and relationship advice. This is going to be for men and women. And again, we're talking about 7 red flags in dating you should never ignore. Now, as always, be sure to like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, and comment below what is one of the red flags you think we should not ignore. Now, again, as I said at the very beginning, so many people see red flag, overlook red flag. See red flag, rationalize past red flag. See red flag and makes all kinds of excuses for the red flag. And unfortunately, it's that process of not addressing it that causes people to end up in the wrong relationship, waste years with this individual that they never belonged with, only to end up back at square one, but with more damage, all right, and having to go through this process again, but hindered by the lack of healing they're now experiencing due to past experiences. Now, with all that said, we've got to break that cycle. We've got to stop this overlooking of red flags. Now, let me make something very clear. If you've been watching me, then you know I am not a believer in the minute you see a red flag, you run, you cut them off. That's not how we do things. You see a red flag and you properly, effectively address the red flag. And then if it's not corrected, now we cut them off. Now we let them go unapologetically. We move on because we did our part and we gave them the opportunity to correct the issue. All right. But again, we must address it. So I'm going to give you 7. There's a lot more than 7 we could talk about. And that's why I want you to comment below. But I'm going to give you 7 that came to mind that I wanted to mention in this video. And again, let's just see where it goes. Let's see what else you can add to the list. So number 1, and it's in no particular order, number 1 red flag is they never take any personal accountability. You have to pay very close attention to people. Now, this can be difficult because depending on the conversations being had, depending on the situations that arise, there may not always be a quick opportunity to see if this person can own when they make a mistake. But typically, somewhere in the dating process, there will be a moment where an individual, even yourself, makes a mistake or mishandles a situation, and here is their chance to now take ownership. And if you notice that they never take ownership, that is a huge red flag. But not just in the situations that occur with you and them. Also, when they talk about their past situations or things going on in their life, if every situation is framed with them being the victim and everyone else being the villain that came against them, that's a problem. Now, listen, I'm not saying that there aren't some situations where, yes, they were genuinely the victim, just as you may be. But in most cases, there's something that we could recognize that we could do better in that situation. And it's important that you identify if this individual is capable of doing that. Now, again, I repeat, if you notice they don't take accountability, you point it out. You discuss it with them. And you also make sure that you show a willingness to take accountability on your end, because you can't be the same person blaming everyone else, never pointing the finger back at you, but then holding them to a standard of holding themselves accountable. It's not going to work like that. You've got to set that standard as well. But we need to make sure that both parties are willing to do this, because show me a relationship where people don't take personal accountability, and I will show you a toxic relationship. I will show you a miserable relationship. I will show you a relationship that will inevitably end. So you've got to make sure both people have to be willing to own mistakes, say my bad, acknowledge, okay, you know what, I could have done this better. That creates harmony in relationships, that allows for things to be rectified and allows an environment where we can talk about things, fix them, and move on to better. The second red flag in dating you should never ignore is they talk very badly about their ex. badly at all, it doesn't have to be very badly, they talk badly about their ex, this is a red flag. Now, some of y'all might be thinking, well, why? Like, you probably talk bad about your ex, so you might be a little triggered by this one. But let me explain to you why this is an issue, okay? One, it can go hand in hand with the taking personal accountability, because when people are talking about their past relationships and everything is about what the ex did wrong and they can never identify what they could have done better, that is a preview to what you're going to be dealing with in your own relationship with them, where they're going to always make it about you and never be willing to hold themselves accountable. That's number one. But another part to that is, if they're talking badly about their ex, chances are they have not healed from that relationship. Listen, you cannot show me someone who has healed and forgiven their ex, all right? And when we talk about forgiveness, understand that forgiveness is for you as an individual. It's about releasing that negative energy, not holding on to that hurt, pain, resentment, or negative emotions. It doesn't necessarily mean you end up back with a person. It doesn't mean you're saying that situation, what they did was okay, but you released it, all right? So when someone has not released through forgiveness, when they have not gotten to a better place, all right, and this is showing in how negatively they talk about their past partner, this is a problem, because this is a sign they have not healed. And if they have not healed, then what are they now bringing into the current potential relationship? So many relationships have failed or gone left because people have brought in previous baggage to this new person. And now you're dealing with things that aren't even your fault. You're having to sift through all the nonsense because of the damage someone else did. That isn't fair to you, it isn't healthy for either of you, and it's going to kill the relationship. So once you see that someone talks very badly about their ex, again, talk about it. Maybe they need some more, well, not even maybe, they do need some more healing. They need to get to a better place, and you want to make sure they find some peace, because here's the other problem. Again, as I said, they bring in that past baggage, but also what happens is they become so easily triggered. So now, if you do anything that in any way resembles a behavior, a pattern that their ex did, even if it's not an actual connection, but to them it looks like it, they're going to get triggered. They're going to be on edge. And right there, again, they're going to hit you with things, not really because of what you're currently doing, but because of what they've already been through. And they're trying to do a preemptive strike. So now, again, they don't even want to go in that direction. So they hit you before you can hit them. That's how their mind is working. So again, it's such an unhealthy dynamic. So when they're speaking badly about their ex, you want to address that. And again, all these red flags I'm giving you, if it's you, then address it. Don't just look at this from the perspective of what the other person has to deal with. Make sure none of these things apply to you. And if they do, you need to correct it before you move forward in dating. Number 3 on the list of red flags in dating you should never ignore, they lie about the little things. Now, I chose specifically to say the little things because what I have seen in a lot of situations is this brushing off of the white lie. It's not a big deal. It's a small lie here. It's a small lie there. But here's the thing. I've never met a person who consistently does white lies who doesn't give big lies. Okay, like this person doesn't keep it in the box of the small lie. It's not just in the box of the little, what they feel is a harmless lie. It extends past that. So again, it's one thing. I think everyone on the face of this earth has told a quote unquote white lie before, all right? So I understand that it's gonna happen sometimes. But when you're noticing a consistent pattern and consistently lying about things that no lie was even necessary, not saying a lie is ever truly necessary, but when they're just choosing to lie about, well, you asked them, hey, where were you earlier, all right? And let's say they were hanging out with their friends and they could have just told you that. And they choose to lie about it. Like little things like that, and that to some people might be a valid reason. Again, I'm not making it okay. I'm just saying how people think, all right? But the point is, you understand what I'm talking about. There are these situations where it's like, why'd you lie? You didn't have to lie about that. It wasn't even a big deal to begin with. this is a warning sign, because if they don't feel comfortable enough telling you the truth in small moments, in insignificant situations, then imagine what they're going to do in the bigger ones. Imagine what they're going to do when there's a greater fear of how you will respond, when there's a greater significance to the outcome of the situation. Because again, understand that most lies are told because people are trying to dictate the outcome, or they fear the outcome of telling you the truth. And so because they don't want that to happen, they tell you a lie. So again, if they're showing a struggle with the little things, they're more than certain going to do it in the bigger moments. So you have to address it, and you have to nip it in the bud right away. You can't laugh it off. You can't brush it off. No, let's talk about it. Let's be honest. And again, let's create an environment and a relationship where we can be honest about everything. I know that's very hard for a lot of people because so many individuals are not used to having a very transparent, honest relationship in any aspect of their life, but it's something that you have to establish at the very least in your romantic relationships, all right? At the very least with the person that you're trying to potentially share a life with. If you two can't be honest with each other, forget about it. It's going to be downhill from there. So you got to address those small lies when they lie about the little things. Number 4 on this list is they hang out with bad influences. So here's the thing. I've seen tons of situations where people are not paying attention to the circles that their potential partner is running in. All right. Now, granted, we want to evaluate individuals for who they are and what they show. All right. And I don't want to put their circle, their friends, their family as a full representation of them. Don't get me wrong. But you cannot ignore when your potential partner, when this person you're dating is rolling with negative influences, or even in toxic family circles, because it's not about even that they're going to be necessarily toxic, but that toxic energy will pour into your relationship, whether it's through them because now they have to deal with this toxic family and they bring it to you, or that family coming directly to you because you're dealing with their family member. But even going back to the influences, even on that level, perfect example, if you are a woman, you're dating a man, and this man is surrounded by single friends. And again, I don't want you to simply jump to attack the single friends because not every single friend is a bad influence. But some friends, and hell, forget if they're single. They could be in relationships and still be bad influences. They could be trying to push this man to engage in inappropriate behavior because that's how they roll. And you got to pay attention to that. If that's the kind of guys he hangs around, again, address it. It doesn't mean immediately don't deal with him, but it has to be addressed. On the flip side, if you're a man and you're dating a woman and all she has is negative, bitter women around her, you've got to understand now that is a setup for problems, because those women are more than likely going to contaminate her mind, contaminate her spirit with negativity. When anything goes wrong, hell, even when it doesn't go wrong, everything could be going great. And they're going to say, you sure he ain't doing something? you sure he's as good as you think he is? They will immediately project their negative perceptions onto your partner because that's all they know. And misery loves company. So they're going to try to find a way to bring down that happiness. Even if it's not a conscious decision to do it, it almost by nature occurs, all right? Because they're dwelling in that negativity. So again, as the individual who is dating the person who is either in a negative family circle or negative influences, friends, so on and so forth, you've got to identify that, and you've got to make sure that one of the ways we address it is by creating safeguards. And one of the best safeguards to create is, one, great communication between you and your potential partner. Because if you guys can't talk, or you guys have a gap in your communication, that leaves an opening for the negative influences to come in and contaminate the situation. But when you have two people who can talk about everything, who always sit down and address things with each other first before running to those friends, running to those family members, you have a stronger unit that can now withstand any of that negativity. And naturally, what will happen is that person will pull more away from those negative people if they're not going to change and be better. If they're going to keep trying to undermine the relationship, then they're going to see that there's no value in hanging out with them so much. But again, it's an issue that has to be addressed. It cannot be ignored because so many people have had their relationships ruined because of outside noise, outside influences. So you've got to address that red flag. Number 6 on this list of red flags in dating you should never ignore: how they treat other people. Now listen, I said it in the video before right now. I can't remember the name of the video. I apologize. But I mentioned that, you can tell a lot about somebody, you can see a lot about them in how they treat other individuals. It's not even about how they treat you. Don't get me wrong. How they treat you is a higher priority, of course. But we cannot ignore how they treat other people, because if they treat other people poorly, then chances are that is at some point going to seep into your relationship with them. Again, most people have not mastered this. I can treat everyone else like crap, but treat you amazingly, consistently. All right. Initially, yes, I think it's possible. They may be able to go through an extended period of time where they keep you in this protective bubble and do everything great for you, but they're not that great with other individuals. It's possible, but it's highly unlikely. But again, even if they can sustain it initially, it will at some point break through the bubble. At some point, because it's a part of their character. And it's a character flaw that has to be addressed. And so they can't hide their true character from you forever. Yes, they can bring you their best representative, but people cannot hold that up for too long. So you have to pay attention yourself to how they're treating other individuals. And really understand, okay, what's going on here? Why are you like this? Why do you view this as acceptable behavior? And express your concern with it. Again, you're addressing the issue. We're not just going to cut them off, because especially the fact that they're willing to show you that they're going to put their best foot forward with you, then I do believe that they deserve the opportunity to correct the outside issue of how they treat others and get to the bottom root of that problem. But if they're unwilling to correct it, if they're going to make excuses for it, whatever the case may be, then again, you cannot ignore it under the idea of, will they treat me well? That's a problem. Because if they're really a good person at their core, then why they can't be good to other individuals? Why aren't they good to people in general? Again, we will all have our moments, but if they're consistently mistreating others, consistently disrespectful to others, or even if they treat people that they view as a lower status than them, they treat them in a very poor manner, that's a problem. And that needs to be corrected. So again, how they treat other people is definitely a red flag that you should not ignore and that needs to be addressed. And as I'm going with this list, if anything comes to mind, comment below. Let me know what are some red flags you think should be addressed. But this 7th one might surprise you. I don't know if anyone has talked about this, but it hit my spirit and I felt like I had to add it to the list. And number 7 is, they have never been alone. So hear me out, because again, some of y'all might be triggered because it's you I'm talking about. You have to remember, I'm a coach. I have sat down and talked to tons of people. I've seen thousands of scenarios. I know how this whole thing goes. And I can tell you with pure confidence that one of the issues I have found to be consistent is individuals who don't know how to be alone. Now, one, getting themselves in the wrong relationship, and I'll explain how that's a problem for you, all right? As well as not learning and healing so they can be better in their next relationship. So first, let's dissect the first part. They end up in the wrong relationship because, again, what happens is people who keep jumping from relationship to relationship and don't know how to be alone, they're trying to latch on to whatever they can, all right? And so they're not focused on, do we have a connection here? They're not focused on this really being where I belong. They're not focused on there being true alignment in this situation. They're just looking for the resume to be good enough, and they will latch on to you. Now, if you're that person they're latching on to, you have to understand that it's problematic because they're not with you because they love you. They're with you because they need somebody in their life. They don't want to be by themselves. And so they will brush under the rug all the red flags themselves. And you, if you're not moving forward with your eyes open, if you're not being aware, if you're not in tune, especially spiritually, then you are very likely to overlook it, because this individual will they will put their best foot forward in the sense of they're going to try to love you and do for you, because again, they need someone in their life. But when you really take a step back and look, you start to see that at their core of who they are, the connection is not really there. But they're holding on because they don't want to be by themselves. And you got to understand that there's a deeper reason why you're even allowing them to remain in your life as long as they did. But I digress. Let's move to the next point of this. What I said was that when they keep jumping from relationship to relationship, they don't take time to learn how they can be better in their next relationship. Because again, people who don't like being alone and people who jump to the next relationship very quickly, they don't take time to heal and evaluate. All right? They're simply looking for the next warm body to have in their life. And this is a problem because they don't have any growth that occurs. So like I'll speak to clients and I'm like, hey, you need time by yourself. Because one, you need to detox from all these previous relationships, and you also need time to reflect and learn what you need to be doing better. Because you are now proceeding in life blinded by your fear of being alone, blinded by your lack of healing, blinded by the fact that you don't even know who you are. Because again, you're so used to having someone there. You never took time to learn yourself. You never took time to truly love yourself. Now, again, I know I'm supposed to be talking to the people dealing with this individual, but I feel like I'm talking directly right now to the person who this applies to. You got to really ask yourself, do I know how to be alone? It doesn't mean you have to be happy to be single, but you do have to learn how to be happy while you're single. You do have to learn how to not be so dependent on having someone there that you will now accept the devil into your life just to have a person in your life. That's a problem. And this happens to so many people. So again, when someone, going back to flipping it, when you're looking for the dating red flag, when you're dealing with someone who has never been alone, who's always in these relationships, you want to explore that deeper. And again, I never want you to make assumptions, because though this is typically going to apply to those individuals as far as the lack of healing, the lack of evaluation, them not even truly being in love at that moment, they're just latching on, you want to be fair in allowing them to show you, does this apply to them specifically as well? And what have they done to counter those issues? Have they somewhere done a process of evaluation, maybe while they were even in a relationship, that has shown growth? How have they progressed in life from those previous relationships to now? Are we seeing that evolution in who they are, or are they still the same person? All right. Have they truly healed and released that baggage? Have they forgiven? Can they talk about their past relationships without it being all negative and hurtful? You want to address all these things. Now, if all those issues are covered and we're good, all right, cool. We won't hold that against them any kind of way. But again, if we dive deeper and we realize all of this does apply, then you got to take a step back. It's not time to be in that relationship. And let me just throw this out there real quick, and I'll do a whole other video about this because this is a deep topic. Sometimes it's the right person, wrong time. I know some of y'all don't believe in that, but it's real. It's real. Sometimes you will meet the person who there may even be a deep connection with, but they are not ready because they have some issues they have to address. They have not healed. There could be a variety of things going on, as well as you're not as ready as you think you are. All right? And so we have to understand that, yes, again, red flags don't always mean wrong person. It may mean wrong person, or it may mean wrong time. Either way, it has to be addressed and corrected before we can move forward so that we can have a healthy and successful relationship. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. Stop right there. If you want a relationship, if you're dating or entertaining the idea of starting to date, this is a video you need to watch, because I need you to understand these 5 very important